KLEO, welcome to PUTINWORKTV. We have enjoyed watching your journey and growth as an artist in the New England music scene and really want to hear more about your story. Our focus is allowing our guests to tell their stories front and center without judgment or opinion. So let's dive in. How did it all begin?
Well, I'm not gonna front. I feel like I've been making music for like 10 years. So I would say like summer of 2012. I had an ex-girlfriend who was like all throughout like 2011 and 2012. It's like, yo, you're always like saying like how you think music sucks. Why don't you just make music? So I kind of just I went on GarageBand and I started making beats. And they're so bad. Like I still got them. I could play them for you sometime. They're like really, 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 really bad. But I would be freestyling with my friends. I would always like write raps on people's Facebook walls. We would like rap back and forth, like battle rap online. But I guess around 13, me and Gibson, we would I would go over his crib and we would just like record shit. So like I was like kind of planning like an album with him back then. You know, I wasn't really even good, but you know, we worked on that for a while, and then that kind of fell through. We released like one song about a girl at our high school. It's crazy. It's wild. It's deleted. No one could ever hear that. I was bugging. Yeah, and then that's when like I started making music with Briefcase. He kind of like started like engineering me and like making beats for me and stuff instead of Gibby, because Gibby kind of started focusing on like Most High and like stuff with Najee and Sean. So I kind of gravitated more towards him. And then in high school, like I released like my first like mixtape or whatever, like graduating day 2015. So that was that, and that was also really, 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 really bad. But it's kind of just been a grind since then, like from working with Gibby to working with Casey to working with Christian Yoon and Gio. So that's kind of where it all started. It was like some pressure in high school. I wasn't really doing that well. Everybody was like, think about your future, and I really had to think about what my future was. And I thought like, you know, I really like music. That's the only thing like I really care about. So like, you know, why don't I just put all my energy into that? And like to see the growth has been kind of crazy. Cause like I said, I used to suck, and now I feel like I'm a solid ass rapper. You know, like I'm good at making music.
So I'm gonna raise my hand when I want to ask a question because I really don't want to interrupt you at all.
Gotcha.
And so my question is, you know, you fuck with music. Like, where did that start from? You know what I'm saying? You was freestyling. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was with the homies. You know what I'm saying? You got on GarageBand. But where did the original like I fuck with music come from?
Yeah, I used to hate music. I feel like I'm a very opinionated person. So like when I used to watch like I would come home from school, and my cousins and my brother used to put on like BT and put on 106 in Park, and I was just like, yo, this is so bad. Like this is so like, yeah, I just didn't like it. But I would say like around 2007, I got into Lupe Fiasco, and like I think like I had, maybe it was 2008, but my dad had like a bootleg CD, and I needed some music from my Xbox. So like what I did was I just put it into the Xbox, and I just burned it, and I would listen to it while I played like video games, and I was like, oh, like he's kind of like talking about something, and I feel like whatever I hear on the radio, they're not talking about something. Like, you know, this was like a time when like Lil Wayne was popping. I never liked Lil Wayne. Like I could admit that he could rap now. I never was really into him, but like it was just a bunch of like weird like dance music, like lean with it, rock with it, shake that, laffy taffy, just like that. You know, I've never really even been that much into Southern music, and that was like really big from like 2004 to like 2007. So hearing that like Lupe Fiasco album, I was like, oh, like music can be like interesting and could like work my mind in this way. So and then like it transitioned from me being only to conscious music to like my brother in high school, like his friends were you know, working, like showing each other music a lot. So he kind of put me on to J. Cole. He put me on a Wale. He put me on a Kid Cudi. Like everybody who was like on the freshman XXL class from 2008 to like 2009 and 2010, he put me on to. And then I started like going on the internet and finding myself. It was like so dope because I felt like back then music was harder to find like at like a great quality. Like not everybody was on the internet. Not a lot of people knew how to like work LimeWire, knew how to like download a mixtape and unzip the files and like put it on their iPod. Like, you know.
So you said, boom, listen to popular music on the radio. You was like, it's Southern shit, it's dancey. We don't give a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit's corny. Then you got put on the Lupe and relatively like conscious, like real, not real music, but music like a little bit more content. You know what I'm saying? In there.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh shit, and then you like dived into this exploration of that music off of LimeWire and just finding like who else can I find or.
Yeah, it was just like I'll go on DatPiff and they would post somebody. Like there were like maybe like enough people I could count on like one hand who would like show me music. Most people like, you know, I was like 12, I was like 13. Not a lot of people were like into underground rap, you know. So and then if XXL put somebody on their list, I was like listening to it. So like it was like I messed with Currency, I messed with Wiz Khalifa, like Mac Miller. I would even listen. I liked Asher Roth. I feel like he slept on. Like I know it's weird to say that, but I feel like he could really rap and he really impressed me. And I know he had his moment, but like a lot of those people were kind of just like, yo, like we could rap. And I feel like music shifted from that point.
Got you. Another thing I want to dive into, as you're saying, I've heard you say a lot, like my music was really, really, really bad, and I used to suck, you feel me?
Yeah.
And so, would you say you're someone who's super critical of their craft and take it like super serious, or?
I think I'm very self-aware. I think that's what it is. I think I came into music with like honestly like a gift for words, but like nothing else. I feel like my talent has always been words, and like I never had rhythm. I can't sing, so like music was something that was like hard for me. Like I always wanted to imitate it, and I had like cool punchlines. I could talk about things, but it was just the rhythmic part, the catchy part, melodies. That's not anything I listen to when I listen to music. Like I was always like enamored by the words. So I don't think I'm super critical of myself. I think I'm just self-aware. Like I hear things and I'm like, okay, how could like I elevate this? Maybe that is me being critical, but it's not something that's unique to myself. I'm kind of critical of everything. Like I said, I'm someone with like strong ass opinions.
Got you. Super critical, self-aware, talent with words.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We just keep going. This is dope. So, what motivates you the most?
What motivates me the most? My younger self. Kind of like when I was in high school, I know it's the rapper thing to say, oh, teachers told me I wouldn't be anything, blah, 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 blah. But that's kind of how it was. They were like, you're not getting into college, you're not going to do anything, like, and it's just like me trying to make something out of my life. And I feel like at this point, I'm actually like, I wouldn't say content, because I'm not content, like, whatever, but I'm kind of proud of myself with like how I've been able to like shift my life from like being somebody with like honestly kind of zero virtual talents to like with like no direction in life to like being somebody, you know, people hear my music and they really love it. They hear it and they have an emotional connection to it. Like I'm making art that people can relate to, and that's kind of like that's what I wanted at my like lowest level. Like when I first was making music, I was just like, I want to just make something my friends could like. But you know, I feel like the world always makes you like want more. So maybe my motivation is like just wanting more. Like how far can I go?
Word. Yeah, I was gonna say, so you talked about how like you didn't have a talent for music, actually musically, but like lyrically and the words, those really resonated with you. And so like making that transition to like I'm gonna put this on like well I'm just my question is like how. Not how, but like you know what I'm saying? You're like it's like saying like I'm really not good at this one thing, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
So, like where did that come from? That spirit and that energy of like I'm just gonna drop the song because I like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm just that type of person. I'm not really a quitter. I'm not really somebody who's unmotivated. I feel like if there's something I want to do, I do it. And it was just like it kind of felt like a priority to me. It kind of felt like not to be overly dramatic, but it did feel like life or death. Like, you know, am I gonna like waste my life, or am I gonna like put my energy towards something? And when college came around and I didn't go, all my friends left, and it was kind of just me alone. And I'm like, yo, these people are working towards something in their life. Like, what am I gonna work towards? How am I gonna do something? And you know, there were a lot of nights like I was in bed, like depressed, like yo, like I gotta do something. I can't just be here doing nothing, like working on nothing. I'm not good yet. Like, how am I gonna get good? You know? And that was before like I realized that music isn't just like it's not a meritocracy. Like I'm not gonna like I used to think if you rapped well, you automatically get noticed. And that was kind of where I was at. I was like, yo, like I gotta get noticed, so I have to be good. You know, I didn't really understand there was like a business aspect towards it, and music was changing at that time anyways. So I didn't realize what it was gonna be.
So in those times of like loneliness and like depression, like how do you deal? How do you push forward?
It's been different a lot of times. A lot of people have told me different things, but my friend Sakai, they always tell me not to get my happiness from success, because success like means a lot of different things, and it's like reframing what success means. And it's like capitalism kind of creates what success is for a lot of people in an unrealistic way. And you know, there's like a lot linked to that is, I don't mean to take power away from people, but it's kind of like out of your control sometimes. No matter, like I said, it's not a meritocracy. No matter how hard you try at something, like it doesn't always mean you're gonna get it. And I feel like sometimes the feeling of frustration is the feeling of what is it when you feel like you're entitlement. It's entitlement. So to remind myself, like, you know, I'm not entitled to anything. You know, I'm gonna work on like what I need to work on, and hopefully the rest will come to me. And then another thing that Christian Yoon told me is that, like, you know, you can't do it for the love of anything else but music. Like, if you do, music will take everything away from you. You have to like just like fall in love with like the music itself. So that's kind of things I remind myself when I'm not feeling well, you know, and I'm sad about that, or I'm sad about life. But I think now, like, I kind of just feel grateful for how I've been able to get better, been able to like transition from somebody who like really couldn't like craft a catchy song, and now like I feel like I have that in my bag a little bit. And that's really thanks to Christian Yoon. He really helped me. I was kind of just like, yo, bro, like, I got these words, like, I don't know, like, tell me what I need to work on, like. And he would be like, yo, like, you got to switch some things up. I feel like your flow be like this. You got to do that. I feel like you don't be having bridges in your music. Like, you got to make that hook melodic. You got to do this and do that. And I feel like I really just kept working on it. And it felt hard to balance at first, because I was such a words focused person, and I felt like anytime I would focus on something else, I was letting the words go. But it was like I would focus on that, And then like once I mastered it, I brought it back with the words, and then I was able to like, you know, and I felt like I did that for a lot of different aspects of rap. So I feel like when somebody's like, yo, like get on this song, I know how to do it, because like I know how to rap. I know how to like, you know, be vibey. I know how to do whatever. I feel like my love of music, of rap music, has made me like kind of a versatile artist. And I feel like that's what kind of shapes like each album. Like every time like I drop something new, people are like, oh, that's a little different, like, you know.
So I want to ask you about music not being a meritocracy.
Yeah.
What in your experience has like taught you that? Like if there's specific events or just like just it being over time, you know what I'm saying?
I think the only thing that's a meritocracy is like sports. Like it's a direct competition. And I'm like, I don't know if there's one moment, but I just keep seeing things, and like being this ingrained in like the music industry at this point, I realized that it's like a business, and business isn't really about merit. It's more about like schemes. Like, okay, like how can I enter the mind of these people? Like, you know, like tobacco isn't good for you, but they the way they market gets mad people hooked on it, you know. It's like things like that. Once I realized that like music was more of a business than a sport, then I was like, oh, like, you know, this doesn't mean I have to be the best or whatever. Cause like I'm seeing these other rappers, like, bro, like some of the people that came out in the SoundCloud era, it was like mind-boggling. I was just like, what is going on? And I know people like them, and it's like, okay, they'll like whatever you like. But I was like, oh, these people aren't good. Like, what's going on? So.
So like, I feel like moving, transitioning. How has your experience like informed your process of creating music? You know what I'm saying? And like, what did you learn the most from your process, and from like life in general?
Yeah, and when you mean my process, you mean like
when you actually like start writing a song, or you go in the booth, or in general how you create music?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are less intentional about their music. They like make it on the spot, like in front of the microphone, and they kind of just like say whatever comes to their head. I feel like I've never been that type of person. Like sometimes it takes me a really, really long time to finish a song, and it's just because like I wanna be able to really say what I mean and make it perfect. And I know nothing will ever be perfect, but I also want to give something my best effort. So I'll hear a beat, and if it gives me an idea, I'll write down the ideas, I'll write down the words. And if it's good, I'll keep going. If I'm like, nah, that's not it, I'll keep trying, and then I might take a break, and I might go back to it, and go back to it, and go back to it. And you know, there's some songs that it took a long time to finish. And like, there's some song, and that turned out really well. And there's some songs that like I was like, oh, I already know what I need to say, I already know what I need to do, and I finish it like that. But you know, I feel like I don't have like 100% of a team yet. So when it comes to like engineering and all the other stuff that goes into music, I'm kind of just like, okay, like this needs this from this person, this needs that from this person. Kind of like be like shuffling around, like, you know. So that's kind of what my music making process is like.
Got you. So you sit down and work till it sounds perfect to you, or sounds right, the right
like
words.
Written, yeah. Then I go record it.
And so would you say a big part of your process is those outside individuals, like the engineer, the mixer, producer, and whatnot? Yeah,
so I think the engineer is a big part. I love working with the engineer. I know a lot of people like to engineer themselves. I feel like they're just like, a good engineer is such a good resource. Like, and I feel like engineers are gate kept. Like, people will be like, oh, I don't know who to engineer my music, and I'm grateful that I was able to like find one like so early in my rap career. Cause people, I be hearing people's music, and I'm like, damn, like it would just, I know they're like lacking a little bit of resource, and it's not their fault. It's just like, it's gate kept. Like, I wish they asked me, or I wish I knew them personally. I could be like, oh, this person. Yeah, I love working with the engineer. Always gives me great ideas, weird things to do on my music. Just like, it's like where I feel like my creativity could shine through collaboratively, because I don't always work on the beat with the producer. Most of the times I don't, like, you know, and then with my words I could get as creative as I want, but then like that's the only time I feel like I could directly like impact the aesthetic of the song.
So I feel like you've dropped so far Battle Damaged and
Mhm.
1,000 Years Grief. And those are your two projects that you have out on all streaming platforms. I want you to talk to me about how dropping those few projects have like changed your experience in the Boston scene, you know what I'm saying? But also just like your life in general.
Yeah. I was talking to my mom about this yesterday. You know, those are two very different projects, kind of like polar opposite in a way. And I was just like, yo, like, I feel like sometimes people tell me like, yo, I feel like you changed, or you're not the same rapper. And it's just like, you know, that's like, it's not that I changed, it's like I gave you a very specific part of me, and you thought that was like the whole thing. But it's like no song, no album that I drop will ever be all of me. That's not possible. It's me in a specific moment. When I write a song, it's me in a specific moment. So that's just what I want to say about it. Like, I'm always gonna evolve, I'm always gonna change, and I feel like sometimes people get stuck on a moment because they really resonated with it, but then it's kind of just like, what are you doing to like change who you are in this moment? You know, what are you doing to adapt to other moments? If you never felt how I felt in that moment, what does that say about your life? You know? But what I feel like Battle Damage did was like really ingrain me in the music scene during a time where, like, you know, they weren't trying to let me in. I was trying to get on shows or whatever, and then it would piss me off. They would only have like these like white boys at these shows in the Middle East, and I was just like, yo, let me do a show, like, let me get on. My music's just as dope, if not better. And they didn't put, they, like, you know, and I was like, yo, Gio, Casey, Christian, like, let's make something. So we did our own show, and then when I saw people come out, I was like, okay, now I could drop an album. Now, like, you know, people hear me, people see me, like, let me drop something so that next show, because the first show got shut down, I only got to do one song. It was like years before I was able to do more than one song at a show. Everything used to happen. I don't think, yeah, I had the worst luck with shows. Still to this day, I feel like it's hard for me to get a show.
What do you mean, like, you only been able to do, in the beginning, you were only able to do one songs? Like,
one song, yeah, so I essentially put the show together, and I put like my friends on it, and I was the final performer. And then they were like, it's getting late, we're getting noise complaints, we're gonna have to shut it down, right before I was about to go on. And then like Gio was like, nah, let him perform. He just let him do just one song. Like, they're like, the police are gonna come. Like, you know, I don't want any issues. And it was just like, yo, like, again, like, cause before, there was a time before I was about to perform and the show got shut down. Another time where I was supposed to perform and it got shut down. Like, it was just like, yo, like, what's going on? Why is my luck so bad? And it was for different reasons too. So I did one song. It's called Roxbury. It's off Battle Damage, and like, it went hard. But yeah, that was corny. But let me just real quick finish talking about Battle Damage, and then I'll go on to 1,000 Year Grief, because I feel like, yeah. So Battle Damage, yeah, I feel like people really resonated with that album, but it was for like a weird reason. It's like they like the energy, but they don't know that I'm like saying shit, which kind of bothers me. Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, you know that whole song, but you didn't know that I was talking about this. You don't know that this album is about like frustration and like feeling like you're fighting for your life. You feel like it's just like I'm yelling for no reason. And it was kind of just like, you know, a cry for help type album. Like, you know, like, I feel battle damaged. Like, I feel like I'm fighting and nobody hears me and I'm screaming. And, you know, that was kind of my disconnect with that album. But, you know, people loved it. And people were like, hot, like, raw, like, hard-ass music. But, you know, like, the first song is called Grip and Death. Like, you know, I've been at the valley gripping death. Like, I'm just trying to, like, cling on to, like, life. Like, choking out death. And, you know, I feel the time it keeps on running thin. I feel the grime it keeps on coming in, but like shit like that. Like I'm really, and then, but I feel like that like cemented like my impact. And then moving on to like COVID, I feel like it took away so much momentum because I was really like a like based performer. Like, people hear my songs and they're like, whoa, like, I didn't get it before, now I get it. And then Thousand Year Grief, that dropped. I feel like that really was a experience people could hear and understand and feel. But I think I got to perform a couple songs like once. I still haven't really gotten to perform that. And I think people really understood it and got it and messed with it. And the people who did like really liked it, and the people who kind of didn't understand it, feel weird about it. But yeah, I think those two projects have shown me that I'm able to really make music at a high level. I would write, you know, and that experience was like, it was just like, it felt like poems on like trap beats. That's how it felt. And, like it was just, I wanted the words to be the emphasis. I didn't want to scream, so I was just like calm. I was just like, if y'all gonna listen to this, it's gonna be for the words. It's gonna be for the vibe, not for y'all to like dance around to. Because I feel like that screaming shit's corny if y'all don't hear what I'm saying. So I just wrote it and was just like, this is what it is. And I got Aisha on it, on the intro. And I try to make it like an experience like that you're diving into, because that's how I felt. I felt like I was grieving about a lot, and like it didn't feel like it was just me. It felt like generational grieving. So I dropped that, and I feel like it got attention. Obviously not as much as Battle Damage because I didn't get to perform it. COVID was tough. But, it was just like an EP. I feel like it was a transitional project. Definitely.
So, the other thing I want to ask you about, we were talking about Boston scene and parties getting shut down, you know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about the art, hip-hop performances in general, like its place in the Boston scene and how it's received in New England and in Boston?
Yeah, I used to have a strong opinion about it. I really was sad that Boston didn't feel like a hub to get discovered by like major labels and stuff. I felt like we didn't get a lot of attention, and there was like a small spotlight because of what Stiz and Christmas and OG Swagger Dick did, or like like people were like trying to cling to that and create something themselves. But at this point, I feel kind of like it's whatever. It is what it is. And I know that like Boston's kind of like, it's not like a party town. Like things get shut down when it's too loud. And like if you're not at a venue, you're not at a venue. And it's frustrating for sure. But to me, it kind of is what it is. And I think Boston has a lot of talent. I think Sean Wire is amazing. I heard his new project. I was like, yeah, this dude's been doing stuff for years. I think the Ill Addicts are like very, very underrated. Like they do good like nationally, and like there's not a lot of Boston attention on them. I feel like we got a lot of hidden secrets, and there are people who are like doing shows and like have a lot of Instagram followers and are kind of like hood favorites, which is like important, but I don't think that's been my lane or is going to be my lane. I'm not the hood favorite, That's not gonna be me. So I kind of have let go of my feelings about like the Boston music scene. It's just like I have a place in it, and it's what it is, and I'm gonna continue to try to bring light to Boston.
Word. How do you? Well, I feel like you answered the question I was about to ask, so I do want to hop into you telling me about your relation with Christian, Casey, Gio, you know what I'm saying, and just what that story is.
Yeah, so I met Casey when I was 14. No, I definitely met him when I was 12, but we became friends when I was like 14, 15. We had an English class together, and I was like, oh, this guy, he kind of knows his music. Like, we were like talking about Danny Brown, and like that was back when he was like underground, and he knew who he was, and like Das Racist, and I was like, oh, like you listen to like underground rap, this is so weird. You're like a white kid. Like, why do you know this stuff? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I just go on Bandcamp. And like Lil Ugly Mane, Young Lean, back in the day, and I was like, yo, how do you know these people? Like, just like, I know them. So we would hang out, we would go to Gibson's house, we would make music there. And he moved, after high school, he moved away to Georgia for a little bit. And senior year, I got close with Gio. And I found out Gio rapped, and I was like, oh, can you spit for me? Because this was back when like we were like rapidy rap. So like, you know, everybody had to have like their like, yo, if Jay-Z comes up to me and says spit something, like we have it ready. And he had it, and I was like, oh, he's like tough. And then we would make music together. And he was like always more musically inclined than me. Like he like knew how to be melodic, and he knew how to rap too, so it just worked for him. And then Casey was away, and I would hang out with Gio a lot, and he'd be like, yo, let's like make a group. And I was giving names, I was doing this, doing that, and he was like, nah. And me and him have different tastes. And so I was just like, all right, whatever, what do you want the name to be? He says 2020. I'm like, okay. So then that was how we started. It was just like 2020. No reason to the name or anything, it was just 2020. And then I just get oh, there's this dude named Freddie Lane. I don't know if you know him. Freddie. Yeah. He I was cool with him. I met him on like Tumblr. And then we would hang out. He's like, yo, my boy Christian knows you. You know him? I go to college with him. I was like, oh yeah, Christian Yoon. I know him through Najee. Or in BLA, essentially. Like, we met one day. It was like the same thing with that happened with Casey. He was just like, yeah, like, I know who Action Bronson is. I know who Travis Scott. Back when Travis Scott was like underground. He just knew all the people, and I was like, yo, like, how do you know these people? Like, this is fire. Like, I'd be trying to talk to Najee about this. You don't know these people. And then we just had like a moment, and then never talked again. It was like crazy. That was like in 2013. So then he FaceTimes Christian, and then he's like, yo, I'm with KLEO, like, and then he's like, oh, yo, what's good, bro? And then like months later, I just get like a FaceTime call from Freddie, and then he's like, yo, Christian's making this beat for us, and it's like, dun, 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 and he's like, you know, they call themselves the Game Boys, Freddie and Christian. His name's like Falco Lambo or something, Falco 3K, whatever. Freddie don't even really rap, but they had like their own group. So then I was like, yo, send me that, and then we made a song like Game Boys 2020. It's called Fuck It Up. I put it on streaming services recently just because it's like such a funny song. But that was kind of our connection. And then Christian just sent me like a crazy ass like good beat. I was like, oh, this dude's like actually nice. So we just started hanging out, and then before you know it, like we were like a thing, like all three of us. And then Casey was back, but he wasn't really making music. And then we had a talk, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna start like taking music seriously. And then he got in it, and it was kind of like, that's what we were. We were a group.
So the group, 2020, KLEO, Briefcase, Christian Yoon, and Gio, Sean?
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, we're not together anymore like that. We're still friends though. We decided that it's not best to move together as a group like that, but we definitely are like, because we just feel like we're so different. I feel like me and Gio get in similar bags sometimes, but it's just like, to make music together, it just doesn't always make sense. Like, and we got different visions for stuff. So, but we're not like, you know, we talk every day, essentially.
Word.
Yeah.
Back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do What do you wish you would have known before you started making music?
Oh, whew. Yo, there's so much I didn't know. It was all gate kept. I didn't know what engineering was. Nobody told me like anything about mixing or mastering. Anything. I didn't know about like the meritocracy thing. I wish I knew that about music. I think that might be like the two biggest things. Like I didn't know anything about it. I was like, you remember the language lab headphones with the little things? Like I was rapping on that, and I was like, how the hell do I get my music to sound? What are they doing that I'm not doing? I was just confused, and I didn't know where to get an engineer, and I just wish like somebody told me immediately, because it was like I had to rely on like Gibby to like engineer my stuff, and it's like I'm not paying him. I'm 15. Like I need somebody who like will work for like money, like that I could like actually put my time into, who like I can't feel bad about like asking for a favor, because like they're getting paid, and they're not like a 15-year-old as well. So that's what I wish I knew. I didn't, for years, for probably like 4 years of making music, I didn't know who to go to have my music sound good. And there's so many lies that engineers were telling me at the beginning. They were like, without stems, we can't mix your vocals well. And I was just like, oh, okay, I have to drop $500 on stems. Like, you know, I'm going to do that. And then it would still come out bad. And it's like, oh, you just actually don't know what you're talking about. You're just not good. Like, I was getting swindled, bamboozled, everything. Like, I wish I knew that I didn't have to stay on beat. Like, that's like a choice. And I felt like I lost a little bit of my freedom, like trying to stay within the lines of like rap so much and like listen to other people. I used to like rap a little off beat, and then I'm hearing these Detroit people, and they be like, they be doing whatever they want. And I'm like, yo, like, I could have had that bag, like, you know? But just some small things.
So, not really related question. What do you enjoy the most, period? What do you enjoy the most?
Not about music, or just...
What do you enjoy the most?
Oh, okay. Right now I'm really into Yu-Gi-Oh! Crazy, I know. I like picking up like little hobbies just to keep my mind away from things. Like getting into overdrive, work mode is not healthy. That's some stuff we learned from like slavery. Like that's not how the world works. You don't have to work. You need some hobbies. So in August, I just like picked up Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just be playing that with my friends, like online with my brother, like in person. Yeah, but every now and then I just pick up like a new hobby. I really like, I play 2K every 2K season. I pick up 2K. I really like, there's this place called Dom's Sausage in Malden. I don't know if you ever heard of it. They got the craziest steak tip subs sandwiches. I really like going there. And then I really like going to this donut shop out in Westboro, Massachusetts. I like donuts. I like playing basketball. I used to suck. I'm getting better. I'll be getting my little step back. I'm really into streetwear. Yeah, I like video games. Like I already said, I like 2K.
Cool.
I used to love anime. I used to. But it's not, I don't have the same passion anymore for it. I feel like, yeah, I don't think, it's not, the community's a little bit different. It's like, not to sound like a hipster, but I'm always going to be a hipster. Like, if something's gassed, it makes me not like it anymore. Like, everybody watches anime, and I'm like, ugh. And I feel like when you've seen enough anime, it kind of gets predictable, and you're kind of just like, yeah. That's just how I feel.
Alright. Fucking, what's the question?
The question is, when it comes to business, do you believe that you should do what you love?
Yeah, I think you should. I think when it comes to life, you should do what you love to do. I think it's not always smart in terms of business to do what you love. Like, you know? So, a lot of times, there's like a question like, okay, do I want to sacrifice my goal for doing something that I love? And like, how much will it set me back? And it's always important to take that into account. I know sometimes, like, I have some friends who are like, oh, I just made this whole album that sounds amazing, but I really want to just go in a different direction. I'm not going to drop it. That might not be smart for business, but if it makes you happy, do it. But then you have to think about, like, how much is going to set you back and if that's worth it. So it's more nuanced than yes or no. But I think, like, if it's going to make you unhappy, there's not much you should, like, why are you doing something that makes you unhappy? It really has to be, like, an investment for your long-term happiness.
So, what's been the hardest part of your journey as an artist?
I feel like it's that moment when, like, everybody says, like, yo, you suck, what are you doing? Like, when you're making music and, like, nobody's listening to it and everybody's like, yo, like, I don't like this. You know, it's like you have to be your own champion. You have to be louder. The voice in your head has to be louder than the voice is telling you you suck. And it's not like delusion either. It's just like, okay, I suck now, but, like, you know, I'm working towards being better. And that was really hard when, like, giving up, like, college or, like, a financial future to, like, for something that I'm not even good at yet. That felt, like, really hard.
Alright. Okay. I think this might be the last question, but where do you see yourself 5 years from now pursuing music?
I don't like that question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like that question. It feels kind of like, it feels kind of like school. Like, it feels kind of like, it goes back to that success goal that, like, creeps me out. Like, I think I'll answer it, though. Right? I know it's weird, but I don't like it, but I'll answer it. I think that I see myself continuing to make music, continuing to be happy making music. I see myself learning a lot about business, learning a lot about, like, more about music. I think about 5 years ago, I was at 2017. My music's way better than 2017. So it's just gonna triple from what it was before. So.
Okay. I lied. Last question.
Okay.
I see you got, like, the fire fit on. You got the vape on. The custom jeans, I think. What kind of jeans you wearing?
These are Subies.
Subies?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. What kind of purse you rocking?
It's Michael Kors.
Michael Kors. How do you feel about the fashion in the Boston scene?
I think we got some people who are really, really good at fashion. Like, they're really good at dressing. And then there's gonna be people whose, like, outfits that I don't mess with. I don't think I'm the most swaggy in the scene. I think a lot of people dress better than me. But that's just inspiration. I'm like, okay, your fit's nice, let me copy it. Like, that's a nice piece. Don't mind if I do. So, which I don't feel like is terrible. I'm not a fashion designer, so if I steal your outfit, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't feel any guilt. I'm not profiting from it. If anything, I'm losing money from it. So, like, be honored. So that's what I'm gonna do. And thank you. You know, my mom doesn't like the way I dress. She says that I be looking crazy. I'm like, oh, if I look crazy, I look crazy. But, like, you know, the artsy people mess with it.
I mess with it. But actually, I lied. I got 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your relationship with your mom.
Yeah, I think my mom's really smart. I feel like a lot of people's moms, they don't feel like they're smart. Like, they don't feel like they have, like, an intellectual connection. But I think my mom might be, like, where I get a lot of, like, my thinking from and my processing. I've always been able to show her some music, and we could, like, talk about it on a deep level. When she heard 1,000 Year Grief, she was, like, blown away. The music that she hears from me now, she's just like, whoa, like, and she really understands it. Like, my new song, My Baby, she's, like, able to understand it, like, on, like, what I mean, like, on the level that I'm like, writing it for. And it just makes me happy. She's, like, a big fan of my music. She's a big supporter. I didn't tell her I made music at first. I was hiding it from her because I was embarrassed. You know, I'm cursing. I'm saying things that are wild. Like I don't want her to hear that. So it was just like hiding it.
How did you end up eventually showing it to her?
Ugh, it's awkward. Um, my friend, my friend Carmen showed it to her because she followed me out on Instagram, and I was like, ah, this is like awkward. But I think she always kind of knew a little bit, cause like I wasn't hiding it that well. But yeah, no, but my mom's mad wise. She be whenever I feel like guilty, like I said, she was just like about me changing who I am, and she's just like, yo, you're not like, that's a part of you. That's like, you're writing about like one moment in your time, like in your life. Like, you know, that's not gonna be the whole picture. You're always gonna change. You're always gonna evolve. And like, if other people don't catch that, they're not evolving. You know, maybe they don't have to evolve, but like, you know, they're on a different. Y'all are at different points. This gives good advice.
The last thing I want to ask you about is I've seen you perform live.
Yeah.
And every time I've seen you perform, you either had a mask or like a crazy fit on. So I want you to talk to me about your approach to like your performing live. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to your stage presence, the way you look, you know, your delivery.
Yeah, I think Christian put it in my mind a while ago that like everything has to match. And ever since he told me that in like 2017, I was just like, oh yeah, that's true. So whether it be like music videos and the song or like the covers, I always am very intentional about how it matches, and I wanna dress like how the music sounds. And you know, Battle Damage, I was wearing like a whole lot of black. 1,000 Year Grief, I had the Bantu knots. I was just like on some like samurai stuff. Like I had the comic book, so like the mask was like part of just like the energy of Battle Damage. It's just like, yo, I'm a warrior wearing a mask. I'm like fighting, you know. But these days I feel like I gotta give it up. But yeah, I feel like I'm holding on to that mask. It don't match me no more. In terms of performances though, like I haven't had too many. I'm glad that you appreciate what I'm able to offer, what I give. I'm kind of like self-conscious about my performances. I'm glad people like it. I don't know what I do to make it great for people. I'm glad people like it. So,
Like, you got any last words for the people?
thanks for making it this far in the video. I appreciate the time that y'all took to listen. Hope y'all take that time to listen to my new song, My Baby, out right now. And whatever potentially new songs I have when this comes out. Evil Hero, the album, on the way.